What do rainbows have to do with spirituality, the concept of non-duality, God, your spirit? And let me tell you, it's interesting. I don't know how many people look in the sky and see a rainbow just after it had rained, sometimes they have double rainbows and everything. Excuse me. But most people believe that a rainbow is real. Yeah, and they can say, "See, I took a picture of it, therefore it's real." But most people never think about the reality that, in fact, rainbows do not exist. They only exist because you see them. It isn't the other way around. They don't exist and then you see them, but in fact, you see them, therefore they exist. But they only exist in your mind. They don't actually really exist. The substantive reality that a rainbow exists is the equivalency of a pink unicorn. They're both have the same validity and strength to them. So what does this have to do? Well, let me explain for a minute, but I'm getting to it. What does that have to do with spirituality? So let me explain about the rainbow. They don't exist, first off, because you think you see it, but that's only from your perspective. If, for instance, you took a camera, and while we know there are an infinite number of positions from which to view any given rainbow, but rather than say an infinite, let's just say 10,000. In photography, it's called photo stacking. So let's assume you could photo stack 10,000 views of a specific rainbow, all taken at the exact same time. And the cameras were placed, let's say 10 foot apart from each other, and then placed 10,000 of them all the way up into the sky and to the right and down toward the floor and everywhere around. And then you take those 10,000 views and condense them to one single view. You're not going to see a rainbow. It just simply doesn't exist. What you're going to see, honestly, I don't know what you're going to see. I would guess what you're going to see is a mass of color or just light, or maybe you won't even see the rainbow. I've actually never done the experiment. I don't have that many cameras. But I know through intuition that you're not going to see a rainbow. I know that because a rainbow doesn't exist. It's only your single point of view looking at something, which is a reflection of light coming from the sun or what coming from something, reflecting off of what they say is water drops and everything, and then they say that creates a rainbow. But it's only a point of view. It isn't real. If you take the entirety of the light that is reflected off of it from all points of view, you're never going to see a rainbow. Therefore, it doesn't exist. You're creating it in your mind. You're creating it by your eyesight, looking and seeing something that isn't real. It is real because you see it, but you're only seeing an imaginary aspect of it. It would be the equivalent of writing a musical note on a piece of paper, one note, just one, and saying Boy, was that a fantastic concert I went to yesterday. And somebody says, well, show me that concert. And they show a single musical note, just one. Forget about all the people at the concert. Forget about all the different instruments. Forget about the lighting and the flashing and the sound and the people milling. Forget about all of that. All you have is a single musical note. That's the same. Well, actually, that's not even the same, because the musical note is actually a real note. But that is a small example of what I'm talking about. That's the same thing as saying, oh, I see a rainbow. Well, no, you don't. You see what you think is a rainbow. You see what you've been taught your whole life. You see from your point of view something, but it isn't that. So what does this have to, oh, here's another way to put it too. At nighttime, you look at a lake and you see the lights on the lake reflecting towards you, all the street lights and all that kind of stuff. And you can see the light. Or another way to put it is the moonlight at night, and the moon casts this single light that comes across the lake or the ocean or whatever, and it comes right to you. But you know from all different perspectives that light is there, but it's not going over there, it's still coming to you. So in all reality, what you're seeing isn't real. The reality is the entire lake, the entire ocean, is fully, utterly covered with light. There's no distinction between a beam of light that is reflecting off the light that's going to your head. That doesn't exist. What exists is the entire lake is covered with light. So, that's another perspective. Now, God produces these things to cause you to think and give you pause if you actually get that far in your life and think about these things and realize that rainbows don't exist and realize these sorts of things. Then it gives you pause to start thinking, well, why is it these things exist that way? Why would God create a reality where we grow up and we absolutely know for a surety that rainbows exist because we've seen them? And then when you get more and more and more aware and more questioning and more using your mind and intuition to analyze, and then you go, oh, wait a second, yeah, rainbows don't exist except for my perspective. That's the only way they exist, is in my mind. They don't actually exist out there. And I'm not saying that they exist just because you can see it from a single perspective. I'm not even saying that. They don't exist at all, period. End of story. You're not seeing reality. You're just seeing a single perspective of something and thinking it's a rainbow, but rainbows don't exist. So how does that have anything to do with spirituality? Well, let me tell you. Everything in this reality, the entire universe, is the same thing. The chair I'm sitting on is the same thing. My physical body is the same thing. How you interact with every other human being or living object or whatever it may be is the same thing. So, that's the reality that we are beset with. That's the reality that we find ourselves born into. And why? Because it's the only way for us to find out what we are. It's how you find out what you are. Now, most people are never going to find out who they are in this lifetime. They're going to live their entire life, live to be an old age, die, and never, ever understand a single clue of who they are. But in fully recollecting the entire situation, either in another life, reincarnated, or in a life hereafter where all things are recollected, you will be able to understand what the whole point and purpose of this reality is. But it's designed to drag out of you the essence of what you are. Because what you produce is actually real to you. What do I mean by that? Well, if people are hateful towards you and you react hateful back to them, we don't really know for 100% surety that they are actually being hateful to you. That's just your rainbow view of that other human being. We don't know. But clearly people throughout the world are called terrorists or whatever they may be, and they go around killing people. And they do it on religious foundations that they believe their God told them in their scriptures that they're supposed to go out and kill people or do this or do that or whatever the case may be. But what they're seeing is a rainbow that doesn't exist. They, in fact, are acting upon what is inside of them. They themselves are defining what they are at their core existence. So, consequently, what is real? So, intuition, that's real. I'm not talking about delusion. There is a definite difference between intuition and delusion, or intuition and insanity, or intuition and just guessing. Intuition is real because that is using an aspect of your spirit and everything to make sense of this illusory reality. Everything you see is a rainbow. You can't make sense of it. I mean, well, of course you do make sense of it, and that's why you go out and do the things you do. People do kind and loving things for other people, or they are greedy, or they find power and authority as something that they derive for. That is bringing out the essence of what they are, reacting upon a reality that doesn't really exist. This is why it's said that Jesus said you shouldn't judge other people. Well, of course, you do have to judge to a certain aspect. You have to judge what you're going to do, but what he was referring to is be careful, because you don't really know what another person is thinking. Most especially when the person you're judging doesn't know what the hell they're doing. So when you go out and you decide to feed the poor and the hungry, or to help, or if you have a loving spouse and you love your spouse. Now, it might be your spouse is a horrible person, but you spend your entire life loving that person. That's because that's what's inside of you. That's what you are. It's like, for instance, me personally, for instance, I don't care about what the world looks like to me. I see rainbows too, don't get me wrong. I see rainbows, but I intuitively can also see that rainbows don't exist. I too see hateful people in the world doing hateful things to other people. But I don't judge it by the basis of saying, well, they are an evil person and they're going to burn in hell. I don't know why they do what they do. Now, I can judge the actions that they do and say, wow, it doesn't appear, that is evil, or that is wrong to be abusive to a child. But I'm not judging the person, because I don't know why they are doing what they're doing. Now, when it affects me or affects somebody that I can stop in some way from doing something terrible to another person, I will certainly do that. But that doesn't mean I know exactly what's going on. I know that this reality is a rainbow. But I have to function within this system, and I do the best I can. But I'm aware that it's not possible to, to, to see the full spectrum of what reality really is. Now, when you get back to the constant thing that I constantly hammer home about non-duality, and that you are God, and that when you eliminate the ego and this and that and everything else, and you fall back, and eventually you eliminate this reality as an illusion, and then you go, oh, okay, now I get it. I am just an aspect of God. That is seeing a rainbow and saying, yes, that is a rainbow. That is real, and I can go up and touch it. No, it isn't real. Non-duality, on the teaching of non-duality, is not true, and it's not real. What is real is that God created this reality to give us the opportunity to create ourselves. And we do that by thinking about how we are going to react to everything. Are we going to be loving people, or are we going to be hateful? Are we going to be greedy, or are we going to be generous? This, that. Those things are actually real. But it could very well be people do things because they're ignorant. They don't know what the heck they're doing. And of course that happens on a daily basis. And then of course, the person reacting to the person that's delusional is doing it because they're delusional. And everybody is doing things because they're delusional. And of course now you throw into that quagmire, if you will, a person that does kind of see what's reality, which would be a demon or the devil or Satan or Lucifer, call it whatever you want. And that person is stirring the pot constantly and seeing what is taking place in this particular world. And that's very hard for most people, because most people think rainbows are real. So most people react to these sorts of things based upon the assumption that what is taking place is real. For instance, a calamity strikes. An asteroid falls on your parents' house and kills them. And then you curse God or whatever. Well, it is real that your parents are passed away. It is real that an asteroid plowed down. What isn't real is what you conclude from that situation. Because that situation is a rainbow. You think those human beings were your parents. You think all of these things are real. The only thing that's real is what you feel and how you react. That's real for you, just like the rainbow is real to you. But that isn't real either. So how are you going to react to those things? I think that it's a big thing to be awakened. I think it's a big thing to become enlightened. I think it's a big thing to sort of say, wake up and smell the roses. I think it's a big thing to take off your rose-colored glasses and wake up. These are bizarre ideas and thoughts. I tell you that they are real. And the whole point of this video is to try to awaken you to seeing things as they, well, rather than saying seeing things as they really are, let's put it a different way, because you're not enlightened. So let's put it this way: they are not what they appear to be. And then hopefully when you become enlightened, you'll better grasp, oh, now I understand they're not what I thought they are. Now I can understand what they are. And when you understand what everything is, again, it's only in here, so to say, but it's not even in here. It's in your spirit, through your intuitive essence. You are able to formulate through an enlightened point of view what reality really is. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching and hope you have a good day. Bye.